The shovel hit wood at 3:47 a.m. Rosa's scream shattered the silence of a $40 million estate. She clawed at the dirt with bleeding hands, ripped open the wooden lid, and found him. Lucas Harrington, 5 years old, lips blue, not breathing. The billionaire's son, buried alive in his own backyard. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. The woman who put him there was sleeping upstairs in a $12,000 silk nightgown. And she'd done this exact thing before. 3 times. 3 different countries. 7 children dead. $14 million stolen. A perfect predator hiding behind perfect makeup. Rosa Martinez had 18 minutes to save that boy's life. What she didn't know? She'd just become the next target. And in exactly 2 hours, the police would be convinced that Rosa was the one who'd buried him. Stay with me, because this story has 3 twists you won't see coming, and the one at the 10-minute mark, it'll make your blood run cold. But first, if you love true crime from the world of billionaires, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel drops stories like this twice a week, stories the mainstream media won't touch. Now let's get into it. Rosa had been working for the Harrington family for 3 years, lived in a small room off the kitchen, made $14 an hour, cleaned their toilets, cooked their meals, invisible. That's what housekeepers are in homes like this. You see everything, they see nothing. Your furniture, expensive furniture, but furniture nonetheless. The night everything changed started like any other. Rosa finished her evening duties around 11 p.m., locked up the kitchen. Checked that the children's nightlights were on. 8-year-old Lily, asleep with her stuffed elephant. 5-year-old Lucas, curled up with his blanket. Both peaceful, both safe. Or so she thought. Rosa went to her room, tried to sleep, couldn't. She had insomnia sometimes. Anxiety that came from growing up poor, from never knowing if the bills would get paid, from being one mistake away from homelessness. So when she couldn't sleep, she'd walk the halls, straighten picture frames, check window locks, just to feel useful. At 3:23 a.m., Rosa walked past the kitchen window, the one overlooking the back garden. And that's when she heard it. Faint, distant, almost like a cat, but not quite. A whimper, soft and desperate, coming from outside. She pressed her ear to the glass. Nothing. Must have imagined it. But then it came again. Louder this time. A muffled cry, like someone screaming through a pillow. Rosa's heart started pounding. She unlocked the back door and stepped into the December cold. Frost crunched under her bare feet. The mansion loomed behind her, every window dark except for the security lights casting long shadows across the lawn. The sound came again, and this time Rosa's blood turned to ice because it was coming from the ground. From underneath the peony garden where Celeste, the lady of the house, had just planted new flowers 2 days ago. Rosa walked toward the sound, her breath forming clouds in the freezing air. The closer she got, the clearer it became. Not a cat, not an animal, human, a child, crying, knocking, from under the earth. Her mind screamed that this was impossible. People don't get buried alive in billionaire gardens. This was some kind of hallucination, stress, exhaustion. But then she heard it clear as day, a weak, strangled voice. "Help, please. Help me." Rosa ran to the garden shed, grabbed a shovel with shaking hands, ran back to the peony bed, started digging like her life depended on it. Because someone's life did depend on it. The dirt came up easy, too easy, freshly turned, recently disturbed. Her nightgown soaked with sweat despite the cold. Her hands blistering around the wooden handle. Dirt flying everywhere. And with every scoop, that sound got louder. The crying, the knocking, the desperate scratching of small fingers against wood. 18 minutes. That's how long she dug, her arms screaming, her lungs burning, her mind racing with questions she couldn't answer. Then the shovel hit something solid with a sickening thud. Wood. A box. About 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, child-sized. Rosa dropped to her knees and clawed at the dirt with her bare hands. Splinters drove into her palms as she found the edge of the lid. It wasn't nailed shut, just wedged tight. She pulled with everything she had. The lid gave way with a crack that echoed across the silent yard. And inside, covered in soil, barely conscious, was Lucas Harrington. His face was gray, his lips blue, his small chest rising and falling in shallow, irregular gasps. His fingernails were broken and bloody from scratching at the inside of the box. Rosa's scream tore through the night as she scooped him into her arms. His body was ice cold against her chest. She couldn't feel a pulse. Rosa didn't think, didn't call 911, didn't wake the family. She just ran, barefoot, in her nightgown, carrying a dying child across the frost-covered lawn, down the long driveway, onto the empty street. 6 blocks to St. Catherine's Hospital, her feet bleeding on the concrete, her voice raw from screaming. "Someone help me. Please. Somebody help." The emergency room doors burst open at 4:11 a.m. Rosa stumbled in, covered in dirt and blood, holding Lucas like he was the most precious thing in the world. A nurse took one look and started screaming orders. Code blue, pediatric, possible suffocation. Doctors surrounded them. Someone tried to take Lucas from Rosa's arms. She couldn't let go. Her hands had locked around him. A nurse had to physically pry her fingers open. Then Rosa collapsed against the wall, her whole body shaking, watching them rush Lucas through double doors into trauma. She stood there for what felt like hours but was probably minutes, dirt covering her nightgown, blood on her hands, her bare feet leaving muddy prints on the white tile floor. Finally, a doctor emerged. Young, exhausted. He looked at Rosa with something between amazement and horror. His heart stopped. "We got it beating again. He's alive. Critical, but alive. You saved his life. Do you understand that? Another 5 minutes and he'd be dead." Rosa slid down the wall and wept. Relief and terror collided in her chest. Someone had buried that child. Someone had put him in a box and covered him with dirt and left him to suffocate slowly in the darkness. Someone in that house had done this, and Rosa had no idea that in exactly 1 hour and 43 minutes, the police would decide that someone was her. Detective Sarah Chen arrived at the hospital at 6:34 a.m., 40s, sharp eyes, 22 years on the force. She'd seen everything, thought she'd seen everything. But a 5-year-old buried alive in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city? This was new. She found Rosa in the waiting area, still in her dirt-stained nightgown, wrapped in a thin hospital blanket, staring at nothing. Chen sat down beside her, pulled out a notebook. "Let's start from the beginning. How did you know where to dig?" Rosa's throat was so dry her voice came out as a rasp. "I heard him." "Heard what exactly?" "Crying. From under the ground." Chen wrote this down, her expression neutral. "And you just happened to hear this in the middle of the night?" Rosa nodded. "I couldn't sleep. I was walking past the kitchen window. I heard something. I went outside. The sound was coming from the garden." Chen tapped her pen against the notebook. "You live alone in the servants' quarters?" "Yes." "And you didn't wake anyone? The family? Security? You just went out and started digging?" Rosa felt something shift in the air. Something cold. There wasn't time. If I'd waited, he'd be dead. I just reacted. Chen studied her face, every micro-expression, every blink. "You care a lot about those children, don't you?" Her tone was gentle, almost kind, but underneath was something else. Suspicion. Yes. Rosa's voice broke. I love them like they're my own. Chen nodded slowly, closed her notebook. We'll need you to come down to the station later for a formal statement. But right now, I need to see the scene, the garden. You'll need to show me exactly where you dug. Rosa felt her stomach turn. Of course. Whatever you need. By the time they arrived back at the Harrington estate, the sun was rising, painting the mansion in shades of gold and pink. It looked like something from a magazine. Manicured lawns, marble fountains, rose bushes shaped into perfect spheres. And in the middle of it all, the peony garden. Destroyed. Dirt everywhere, a gaping hole. And sitting at the bottom, the wooden box. Crime scene techs were already there, taking photos, dusting for prints, measuring dimensions. Chen walked the perimeter, her trained eyes catching every detail. Fresh soil. Box buried maybe 6 hours before discovery. No signs of struggle in the surrounding area. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't panic. This was calculated. Then Chen saw something that made her pause. Footprints, lots of them. All over the disturbed earth, all matching the same pattern, small, barefoot. She looked at Rosa. Take off your blanket. Let me see your feet. Rosa obeyed. Her feet were cut, bleeding, covered in dirt. Chen compared them to the prints. Perfect match. Every single footprint in that garden belonged to Rosa. Nobody else had been there. Before Chen could process this, a car pulled up. Expensive. German. Michael Harrington burst out, his shirt half-buttoned, his hair a mess, his eyes wild with panic. He looked like a man who'd aged 10 years overnight. Where's my son? Is he alive? What the hell happened? His voice cracked on the last word. Chen stepped forward. Mr. Harrington, I'm Detective Chen. Lucas is stable. He's at St. Catherine's in intensive care. Your housekeeper found him buried in your garden and got him to the hospital. We're investigating how this happened. Michael's face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, horror, confusion, relief, then anger. Buried? What do you mean, buried? Someone put my son in the ground? Chen nodded grimly. We're still piecing it together. But yes, someone buried Lucas alive. Michael turned to Rosa, grabbed her shoulders. How did you find him? Tell me everything, Rosa explained again. The sound, the digging, the box. Michael stared at her like she was speaking another language, his mind unable to process the impossible. Before he could respond, another car arrived. This one even more expensive. A black Mercedes with tinted windows. And out stepped Celeste Harrington. Now let me paint you a picture of Celeste. 38 years old, but looked 30. Blonde hair that caught the morning light like spun gold. Skin like porcelain, dressed in a cream-colored cashmere coat that probably cost more than Rosa made in a year. Diamond studs in her ears. Even at dawn, even rushing to a crime scene, she looked like she'd just stepped off a runway. Perfect. She walked across the lawn like she owned it, which she kind of did, her heels sinking slightly into the soft earth, her face arranged in an expression of concern, maternal worry. But something about it felt off, too practiced, too perfect, like she'd rehearsed this moment in a mirror. Where is my son? Her voice was soft, controlled, trembling just enough to seem authentic. He's at the hospital, ma'am. Chen again, stable but critical. Celeste pressed a hand to her mouth. Oh, thank God. Then her eyes landed on Rosa, standing there in her dirty nightgown, bare feet, blood on her hands. And something flickered across Celeste's face, just for a second. Too fast for most people to catch. But Rosa saw it. Calculation, assessment, like a chess player studying the board. "Rosa," Celeste's voice was honey-sweet. "You found him?" Rosa nodded, unable to speak. Celeste stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming, expensive, suffocating. "How did you know where to look?" "I heard him. From underground. I just followed the sound." Celeste tilted her head, like a bird studying a worm. "That's incredible, almost unbelievable." She paused. Let the word hang in the air. "Unbelievable," Michael cut in. "Celeste, she saved Lucas's life." Celeste turned to her husband, placed a perfectly manicured hand on his arm. "Of course, darling. I'm just trying to understand." Rosa was the only one awake, the only one who heard anything. "And she just happened to go outside at 3 a.m. and start digging in our garden." She looked back at Rosa. "That is what happened, isn't it?" Rosa felt the ground shift under her feet. "Yes, that's what happened." Celeste smiled. So warm, so kind. "And you didn't think to wake us first? To call the police? You just grabbed a shovel and started destroying our landscaping?" The words were gentle, but they landed like punches. Rosa tried to respond. "There wasn't time. If I'd waited even 5 minutes, he'd be dead." Celeste nodded slowly. "Or perhaps you knew exactly where to look because you're the one who put him there." The accusation dropped like a bomb. Michael's jaw fell open. "That's insane." Detective Chen's eyes sharpened, and Rosa felt her entire world tilt sideways. "What?" "No, I would never. I love that boy like he's my own son." Celeste's expression shifted. Sadness now, deep concern. "I know you do, Rosa. That's what worries me. You've been so attached to the children lately, so protective. Michael and I have noticed. The way you hover, the late-night wandering. We thought it was just dedication. But now I'm wondering if it's something else, something more troubling." Michael looked confused. "What are you talking about?" Celeste turned to him, her hand still on his arm, anchoring him. "Darling, I didn't want to worry you, but Rosa has been acting strangely for weeks. I found her standing outside the children's rooms at night, just staring at them while they sleep. I've heard her talking to herself, arguing with people who aren't there. I was going to suggest she see someone, a therapist, get some help." None of this was true. Not a single word. But Celeste delivered each lie with such perfect sincerity that even Rosa almost believed her. "I never did any of that." Rosa's voice was small, desperate. "You have to believe me. I heard Lucas crying. I dug him up. I saved him. I didn't hurt him." Detective Chen intervened. "Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, I need you both to come to the station to give statements. Rosa, you too. We need to get everyone's account on record, and we need to process the evidence. But I have to tell you, this looks bad. Rosa's the only one with dirt under her fingernails, the only one whose footprints are all over the scene, the only one who was awake and active during the window when Lucas was buried. I'm not saying she did it, but right now, all the physical evidence points to her." Rosa felt her legs go weak. "This can't be happening. I saved him. I saved his life." Chen's expression softened slightly. "I believe you believe that. But motive, means, and opportunity. Right now you have all three. We need to rule you out, and the only way to do that is evidence. So let's all go downtown and figure this out." As they drove to the police station, Rosa stared out the window at the city waking up. People going to work, getting coffee, living normal lives. And she realized with creeping horror that her normal life was over. She'd saved a child's life. And somehow, impossibly, she was being set up to take the fall for trying to end it. At the station, they separated everyone. Rosa sat in an interrogation room for 3 hours. Alone. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the walls closing in. Finally, Detective Chen returned with another officer. Younger, male, skeptical eyes. They went through everything again. The timeline, the sounds, the digging, every detail, looking for inconsistencies, contradictions, signs of deception. How long have you worked for the Harringtons? 3 years. Ever have any problems with the family? No, never. They're good people. Even Mrs. Harrington? Rosa hesitated. She and I aren't close, but she's never been cruel, just distant. Do you have financial problems, Rosa? Chen's voice was gentle now. Probing. I make $14 an hour. So, yes, I have financial problems. Anyone would. The male officer leaned forward. The Harringtons are worth $60 million. Michael's company just went public. Stock is through the roof. If something happened to Lucas, if both kids were out of the picture, Celeste inherits everything. Rosa's eyes widened. You think this is about money? The officer shrugged. It's always about money, or love, or revenge. Those are the big three. Chen pulled out a folder, opened it. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Rosa's breath caught. The photos showed her in the garden, wielding the shovel, dirt flying, her face contorted with effort, sweat pouring down. Every angle made her look violent, dangerous, unhinged, like someone in the grip of madness. Where did you get these? Rosa whispered. Anonymous tip. Someone emailed them to the station this morning. No return address, no identifying information, but the metadata shows they were taken from inside the mansion, from an upstairs window, between 3:30 and 4 a.m. Someone was watching you dig. Someone was documenting everything. And then they sent us the evidence. Rosa felt sick. Don't you see? This is a setup. Whoever buried Lucas took these photos to frame me. They knew I'd find him. They wanted me to find him. This whole thing is staged. Chen studied her face. That's a pretty elaborate conspiracy theory. Or, the officer added, you buried Lucas yourself, took photos to create reasonable doubt, then dug him up before he died to play the hero. Classic Munchausen by proxy. You get attention, praise. You're the savior, but you're also the one who created the crisis. No. Rosa's voice rose. No. I would never hurt that child. I love him. The officer smiled. That's what they all say. They held Rosa for 6 more hours, questioned her repeatedly, took her fingerprints, photographed her injuries, scraped under her nails for DNA evidence. By the time they let her go, it was late afternoon. They didn't have enough to charge her. Yet. But Chen made it clear. Don't leave town. Don't go near the Harrington family. Don't do anything that makes you look more guilty than you already do. Rosa walked out of that police station into the fading daylight, feeling like a ghost. She had no car, no phone, no money. Just the dirty nightgown and hospital blanket. She walked the 7 miles back to the Harrington estate in bare feet, her mind spinning. Someone had tried to kill Lucas. Someone had framed her, and that someone was still in that house, with the children, with Michael, playing the perfect wife while planning God knows what. When Rosa finally reached the mansion, she went straight to her room through the service entrance, trying to stay invisible. But the other staff had already heard. Carmen, the cook who'd been Rosa's friend, avoided eye contact. Thomas, the groundskeeper, shook his head when he saw her. Even Maria, who'd worked there for a decade, whispered something to another maid, and they both hurried away. Rosa was toxic now, guilty by accusation. And in a house like this, perception was everything. That night, Rosa tried to sleep but couldn't. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Around midnight, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, deliberate, coming toward her door. Rosa sat up, her heart hammering. The footsteps stopped right outside. Then a soft knock. Rosa's voice came out as a croak. "Who is it?" "It's me." A child's voice. "Lily." Rosa rushed to the door, opened it. 8-year-old Lily stood there in her pink pajamas, clutching her stuffed elephant, tears streaming down her face. The little girl threw herself into Rosa's arms, sobbing. "I'm scared." "Everything's wrong." Rosa held her close, stroking her hair. "You're safe, honey. Lucas is getting better. He's going to come home soon." Lily pulled back, her young face twisted with confusion and pain. Celeste said Lucas might not come home. She said God takes away children who see things they're not supposed to see. Rosa's blood ran cold. "What? When did she say that?" "This morning, after Daddy left for the hospital. Celeste came into my room. She sat on my bed. She said Lucas had been bad, that he'd seen something he shouldn't have. And that's why this happened, that it was God's punishment." Rosa felt rage burn through her chest. "That's not true, sweetheart. None of this is Lucas's fault. He didn't do anything wrong." Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "Rosa, I'm scared of Celeste. She's different now, since Mommy died. At first she was nice, but now she looks at me like she's waiting for something, like I'm in her way." Rosa took the girl's face in her hands. "Has she ever hurt you?" Lily shook her head. "Not yet, but I think she wants to. I think she wanted to hurt Lucas, and I think she's going to try again." Rosa's mind raced. "Listen to me very carefully. If Celeste ever tries to give you medicine or food that tastes strange, don't take it. Say you're not hungry. Say your stomach hurts. Make up any excuse, and come find me immediately. Do you understand?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide. Then she whispered something that made Rosa's entire world shift. "Rosa, 2 nights ago, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for water. I saw Celeste in the garden. She was digging. It was really late. She had a flashlight. Her dress was covered in mud." Rosa's pulse quickened. "What was she doing?" "I don't know. But when I asked her about it the next morning, she said I must have been dreaming, that she was asleep all night. But I know what I saw. She was digging where you found Lucas." Rosa felt pieces clicking into place. "Lily, this is really important. Have you told anyone else about this?" Lily shook her head. "Celeste said if I told lies about her, God would punish me too, just like Lucas." Rosa hugged the girl tightly. "You did the right thing telling me. Now go back to bed. And remember what I said. Don't eat or drink anything Celeste gives you unless Daddy is there too. Okay?" "Okay." Lily slipped out of the room, disappearing into the darkness like a small ghost. Rosa waited until she was sure the house was asleep. Then she did something crazy. She crept upstairs, past the family portraits, past the expensive artwork, to the master bedroom. The door was slightly open, soft light spilling from the walk-in closet. Celeste wasn't in bed. Rosa's heart hammered as she slipped inside. The room smelled like Celeste's perfume. Overwhelming, expensive. The closet was the size of Rosa's entire living quarters. Rows of designer dresses, shelves of shoes, more wealth in one room than Rosa would see in her entire life. Rosa moved quickly, quietly, opened drawers. Searching for what, she wasn't sure. Just evidence. Anything that proved Celeste was behind this. She found jewelry, silk scarves, designer handbags. Then, in a small drawer near the vanity, hidden beneath cashmere sweaters, she found it. A manila envelope. Inside were more photographs. Dozens of them. All of Rosa. In the garden. Digging. Sweating. Looking guilty. But these weren't the ones the police had. These were different angles. More shots. A complete documentation of the entire rescue. Proof that someone had been watching, planning, building a case. Rosa's hands shook as she pocketed several photos. Then she kept searching. found something else. A prescription bottle, lorazepam, a powerful sedative, prescribed to Celeste Harrington 3 months ago. 30 pills. The bottle was more than half empty. Rosa checked the label. Take 1 pill at bedtime as needed for anxiety. If Celeste had taken this as prescribed, there should be maybe 10 pills gone. Not 20. Where did the other pills go? Rosa heard footsteps coming up the stairs. She froze, her mind screaming at her to move, but her body locked in place. The footsteps got closer, reached the landing. Rosa shoved the pill bottle back in the drawer, closed it, started to move toward the door. Too late. Celeste appeared in the doorway, still dressed, still perfect. Her eyes locked on Rosa's. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Celeste smiled, that slow, calculated smile that didn't reach her eyes. Couldn't sleep again, Rosa? Her voice was soft, almost amused. Rosa's mouth went dry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just... Celeste stepped into the room, closing the distance between them. Just what? Breaking into my bedroom? Going through my things? Rosa backed toward the wall. I heard a noise. I thought someone might be in trouble. Celeste laughed. It was a cold sound. Empty. You know what I think? I think you're looking for something. Evidence, maybe. Something to make yourself look less guilty. She moved to the vanity, opened the drawer, pulled out the prescription bottle, held it up to the light. Were you looking for these? Her eyes glinted. These are mine, prescribed by my doctor, for anxiety, which, as you can imagine, has been quite severe lately. What with someone trying to murder my stepson? Rosa found her voice. You buried him. You drugged him with those pills and buried him alive. And now you're framing me for it. Celeste's smile widened. That's quite an accusation. Do you have any proof? Rosa pulled out the photographs she'd taken. These. Someone took pictures of me rescuing Lucas. From this window. Someone was watching, documenting everything, setting me up. Celeste glanced at the photos, tilted her head. You know what the police will say? They'll say you took those yourself, staged the whole thing, created evidence to support your conspiracy theory. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Truth doesn't matter, Rosa. Only perception. And right now, everyone perceives you as an unstable woman who hurt a child. Me? I'm the grieving stepmother, the victim, the one everyone sympathizes with. Why? Rosa's voice broke. Why are you doing this? Celeste's mask slipped, just for a second. Her eyes went flat. Dead. Empty. Because Lucas saw something he shouldn't have. He woke up that night, came downstairs, saw me in the kitchen, preparing Michael's coffee, adding my special ingredient. The boy asked questions. Too many questions. Children are so curious, so inconvenient. I couldn't risk him telling his father, so I had to make him disappear. And you? She smiled again. You were just convenient, the perfect scapegoat. Everyone knows you're obsessed with those kids, playing mommy. Trying to replace their dead mother. It was so easy to make people believe you'd snapped. Rosa felt ice flood her veins. What did you put in Michael's coffee? Celeste's laugh was genuine this time. Delighted. Oh, Rosa, haven't you figured it out yet? I'm killing him. Slowly. Small doses. Arsenic is wonderful. Makes people sick, weak, confused. Everyone thinks it's stress, grief, the poor widower falling apart. By the time he dies, probably in 3 or 4 months, no one will question it. Heart attack, stroke, tragic. And I'll inherit everything. The company, the fortune, all of it. You're insane. Celeste's expression hardened. I'm practical. I'm a businesswoman. This is just business. I find wealthy widowers, men broken by grief, men with children who stand between me and their money. I become exactly what they need. The perfect wife. The loving stepmother. And then, very carefully, very patiently, I remove the obstacles. The children first. They're easier, more sympathetic when they die. And then the husband. Natural causes, unexpected illness, it works every time. "How many times have you done this?" Rosa whispered. Celeste smiled. "You'll never know. But let's just say the Harringtons are family number 4, and you're not the first person to figure it out. There was a nanny in Buenos Aires, a gardener in São Paulo. Both of them tried to expose me. Both of them had tragic accidents. Which brings me to you." She pulled something from her pocket. A syringe, the same kind Rosa had seen crime shows, filled with clear liquid. "I really hoped you'd just take the fall. Go to prison quietly. But you're too stubborn, too nosy. So now I have to do this the hard way." Rosa backed toward the door, her mind racing, calculating distances, escape routes. "What's in that?" Celeste glanced at the syringe. Potassium chloride. Stops the heart, makes it look like natural causes, untraceable in autopsies if done right. They'll find you in the morning. The unstable maid who took her own life, overcome with guilt. Everyone will understand. It practically writes itself. Rosa ran, burst out of the bedroom, sprinted down the hallway. Celeste followed. Not running, walking calmly, confidently, like a hunter who knows her prey has nowhere to go. Rosa reached the stairs, started down, her bare feet slipping on the marble. She could hear Celeste behind her, heels clicking, getting closer. Rosa hit the main floor, ran for the front door. Locked. She fumbled with the deadbolt, her hands shaking too badly to turn it. Celeste reached the bottom of the stairs, still smiling, still holding the syringe. "There's nowhere to go, Rosa. The house is locked up tight, security system armed. If you open a door or window, alarms will sound, police will come. And how will that look? You breaking out of the house in the middle of the night, running from the scene, more evidence of guilt." Rosa's back hit the door. She was trapped. Then a voice cut through the darkness. "Stop!" Michael stood in the doorway of his study, his hair disheveled, his eyes bloodshot, but clear, focused, and in his hand was his phone, recording. Celeste froze, her expression flickering between shock and rage. "Michael, darling, you're awake." His voice was cold. "I heard everything, every word. The arsenic, the other families, the nanny in Buenos Aires, all of it." He held up the phone. "And it's all recorded, right here." Celeste's face transformed, the mask shattering completely. What replaced it was something inhuman, cold rage, pure calculation. "You can't prove anything. That recording won't hold up in court." Michael stepped closer. "Maybe not. But it's enough for the police to investigate, to exhume the other husbands, test them for poison, to look into your past, your real past. Because I did some digging of my own tonight, after Rosa was arrested. I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. So I searched your name, found articles, different names, same face. Isabella Moreno, Elena Vasquez, Gabriela Santos. You've been doing this for over a decade." Celeste lunged, not at Michael, at Rosa, the syringe raised. Rosa threw herself sideways, crashed into a side table, expensive vase shattering. Celeste's momentum carried her forward. She stumbled. The syringe clattered across the marble floor. Michael tackled her. They went down hard. Celeste fought like a wild animal, all pretense of elegance gone. Just violence, rage, desperation. She clawed at Michael's face, screamed things in Portuguese that Rosa didn't understand but sounded like curses, like promises of death. Rosa grabbed the landline, dialed 911, her voice shaking as she screamed for police, for help, for anyone. Michael managed to pin Celeste down, his weight holding her, but she kept fighting, kept snarling. "You're dead, all of you, you're all dead, I'll get out. I always get out, and I'll come back, I'll finish what I started." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Red and blue lights painted the mansion windows. The front door burst open. Detective Chen entered first, gun drawn, officers flooding in behind her. She took in the scene. Michael on top of Celeste, Rosa holding the phone, the syringe on the floor. Chen's eyes widened. What the hell happened here? Michael stood slowly, keeping one foot on Celeste's back. She tried to kill Rosa. She's been poisoning me. She buried my son, and she's done it before, multiple times. Other families, other cities. Chen looked at Rosa, then at Celeste, then at the syringe. She nodded to the officers. Bag that, test it, and arrest Mrs. Harrington. As they pulled Celeste to her feet and cuffed her, she started laughing. High and cold. You think this is over? You have no idea what I'm capable of. No idea who I know. I'll be out in a week, and when I am, I'm coming for all of you. Chen read her rights, loud and clear, making sure every word was documented. As they led Celeste towards the door, she turned her head, locked eyes with Rosa one last time, mouthed 3 words. See you soon. Then she was gone, loaded into the patrol car, driven away into the night. But her promise hung in the air like smoke. Toxic, threatening, real. Rosa collapsed into a chair, her entire body shaking, the adrenaline draining out of her system, leaving nothing but exhaustion and terror. Detective Chen sat down beside her, pulled out her notebook. I need to hear everything, from the beginning, every detail. Rosa took a shaky breath and told her story, all of it. The sounds, the digging, the photos, the pill bottle, Lily's testimony, the confrontation in the bedroom, Michael's recording. Chen wrote it all down, her expression shifting from skepticism to horror as the pieces came together. When Rosa finished, Chen closed her notebook, looked her dead in the eyes. I owe you an apology, a big one. I should have listened to you from the start. Instead, I let the evidence and my own biases blind me. You saved that boy's life, and you almost died for it. Rosa's voice was barely a whisper. Is Lucas going to be okay? Chen nodded. He woke up this afternoon. Briefly. Asked for his daddy, asked for you. The doctors say he's going to make a full recovery. Rosa closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. Thank God. The hospital called at dawn. Lucas was fully awake, talking, asking questions. Rosa arrived with Detective Chen and a child psychologist named Dr. Rivera. They needed Lucas's testimony, but they had to be gentle. Trauma like this could damage a child forever if handled wrong. Rosa stood in the corner of the room, her heart breaking as she looked at the small boy in the big hospital bed. He looked so fragile, so small. Tubes and wires connected to machines that beeped and hummed. When Lucas saw Rosa, his entire face lit up. Rosa, his voice was hoarse, weak but clear. Rosa moved to his bedside, took his tiny hand in hers. Hey, sweetheart, you scared me half to death. Lucas's smile faded. I was so scared. It was so dark. I couldn't breathe. I tried to scream, but no one could hear me. Rosa squeezed his hand. But I heard you. I found you. You're safe now. Dr. Rivera sat on the other side of the bed, her voice soft and kind. Lucas, honey, I need to ask you some questions about what happened. Is that okay? Lucas nodded. Can you tell me what you remember from that night? Lucas bit his lip, his eyes filling with tears. I woke up because I was thirsty. I went downstairs to get water. That's when I saw Celeste in the kitchen. What was she doing? Lucas's voice got quieter. She was putting something in Daddy's coffee. White powder, lots of it. She had a little bag and a spoon. She was very careful. Measuring it. Dr. Rivera glanced at Detective Chen. Then what happened? Lucas looked down at his hands. She saw me. She smiled really big, but her eyes weren't smiling. They were scary. She asked if I wanted some special juice. I said no, but she said it would help me sleep better, that I'd have nice dreams. She gave me a cup. It tasted bad, bitter, but she made me drink all of it, said it was medicine. Rosa felt rage building in her chest. Detective Chen leaned forward. What happened after you drank the juice? Lucas's voice broke. Everything got fuzzy, like the room was spinning. I tried to walk, but my legs didn't work. I fell down. Celeste picked me up, carried me outside. I tried to tell her I wanted Daddy, but I couldn't make words come out right. She put me in a box. It was small, dark. She looked at me and said I'd seen something I shouldn't have, that this was the only way. Then she closed the lid. Tears streamed down Lucas's face. I tried to push it open, but I couldn't. I heard dirt falling on top. It got darker and darker. I couldn't breathe good. I was so scared. I thought I was going to die. I scratched and scratched, trying to get out. Then I heard Rosa's voice. She was calling my name. And then light and air, and Rosa was holding me. Lucas looked up at Rosa. You saved me. You're my hero. Rosa was crying now, too. You're the bravest boy I've ever met. Dr. Rivera asked a few more questions, establishing timeline, details, making sure Lucas's memory was clear and consistent. Then she nodded to Chen. That's enough for now. Let him rest. As they filed out of the room, Lucas called out, Rosa. She turned. Yeah, sweetheart. Is Celeste going to come back? Rosa walked back to his bedside, crouched down so they were eye level. No. She's never coming back. I promise. The police have her. She can't hurt you anymore. Lucas nodded, but his eyes were still scared, still haunted. Rosa stayed with him until he fell asleep, holding his hand, keeping watch, making sure he knew he was safe. The toxicology report on Michael came back that afternoon. Arsenic. Elevated levels. He'd been ingesting it for at least 3 months. The doctors started chelation therapy immediately, flushing the poison from his system. It would take time, but he'd survive. Unlike Celeste's previous victims, the ones who hadn't been so lucky, Chen had already contacted authorities in Brazil and Argentina. They were exhuming bodies, running tests. The death toll was climbing. That night, Rosa returned to the mansion. It felt different now, colder, haunted by what had happened. She packed her small bag, preparing to leave. She couldn't stay here, not after everything. But as she was folding her last shirt, there was a knock. Michael stood in the doorway. He looked terrible, gray, thin, older than his 42 years, but alive. Please don't go. His voice was raw. Rosa shook her head. I can't stay here, Mr. Harrington. Too much has happened. Michael stepped into the room. You saved my life. You saved Lucas's life. You exposed a monster that I brought into my home. A monster I let near my children because I was too blind with grief to see what was right in front of me. Rosa, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging you. Stay. Not as an employee, as family. The kids need you. I need you. Rosa felt tears burning her eyes. I don't know if I can. Every time I close my eyes, I see that box. I hear Lucas crying. I see Celeste's face. That smile. Michael nodded. I understand. But think about it. Please. The guest house is yours if you want it. No obligations, no conditions. Just a safe place while you figure things out. Rosa looked around her small room. At the narrow bed, the single window. The life she'd built in the margins of someone else's world. Then she thought about Lucas, about Lily, about the way they looked at her with trust and love, about how close they'd all come to losing everything. Okay. Her voice was barely audible. I'll stay. For now. Michael's relief was palpable. Thank you. Thank you so much. The trial started 6 months later. Celeste's real name was Gabriela Santos, 39 years old, born in Recife, Brazil, daughter of a con artist, mother, and unknown father. She'd been running scams since she was 16. Married her first wealthy man at 23. He died 8 months later. Heart attack. She inherited $200,000. That's when she realized her calling. Over the next 16 years, she perfected her method. Target grieving widowers, men with money and children. Become indispensable. Then systematically eliminate anyone who stood between her and the fortune. The evidence was overwhelming. 7 dead children across 4 countries, 5 dead husbands, 2 nannies who'd tried to expose her and died in suspicious accidents, $14 million stolen, bank accounts in 3 different names, fake passports, a storage unit filled with identities and documents. The prosecution painted her as a patient, calculating predator who'd spent nearly 2 decades perfecting murder. Rosa testified for 6 hours over 2 days. The defense tried to break her, suggested she was mentally unstable, that she'd fabricated evidence, that she was obsessed with the Harrington children and had hurt Lucas herself. But Rosa's testimony never wavered. She spoke calmly, clearly, describing every moment of that horrible night. The jury watched her, believed her. You could see it in their faces. Lucas testified too, now 6 years old, wearing a little suit that made him look impossibly young and vulnerable. He sat in the witness box and described the bitter juice. The fuzzy feeling, waking up in darkness, unable to breathe, scratching at the wood until his fingers bled, hearing Rosa's voice calling to him through the earth. When he pointed at Gabriela and said, "She's the one who put me in the box," 3 jurors started crying. The defense tried to discredit him, argued that children's memories are unreliable, that he'd been coached. But Lucas never faltered, never changed his story, because it was the truth. Michael testified about the arsenic, about his months of mysterious illness, about how Gabriela had isolated him, controlled his medications, made him dependent while slowly killing him. Medical experts testified about poisoning patterns, about how arsenic accumulates in the body, how it mimics natural diseases, how brilliant and patient Gabriela had been in her execution. Then came testimony from Brazil and Argentina, families of previous victims, detectives who'd investigated deaths that had seemed natural at the time, but now revealed clear patterns. Prosecutors from 3 countries coordinated, built a case that spanned 2 decades. The courtroom heard horror story after horror story. Children who'd died young, husbands who'd wasted away, a nanny in São Paulo who'd fallen downstairs after threatening to go to police, a gardener in Buenos Aires who drowned in a pool he'd maintained for 10 years. The defense fought hard, argued circumstantial evidence, claimed identity theft, suggested elaborate conspiracies, but the evidence buried them. DNA, financial records, digital footprints, testimony from dozens of witnesses, and most damning, Michael's phone recording. Gabriela's own voice confessing to everything, describing her method, her past victims, her plans for the future. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the forewoman's voice was steady and clear. Guilty on all counts, 7 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The judge didn't hesitate. Life in prison without possibility of parole, to be served in maximum security, with a recommendation that she never be released under any circumstances. As they led Gabriela away in chains, she turned one last time, looked directly at Rosa, and smiled. That same cold, calculated smile, like she knew something no one else did, like this wasn't really over. Rosa felt a chill run down her spine, but she didn't look away, didn't let Gabriella see fear, just stared back until the killer disappeared through the doors. Gone, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. 9 months after the trial, Rosa stood in the Harrington garden on a sunny October morning. The peonies were gone. Every single one, ripped out and burned. In their place were sunflowers, hundreds of them, bright yellow faces turned toward the sun. Lucas had chosen them. Because they're happy, Rosa. They make everything feel safe. The boy was 7 now. Taller, stronger. Still had nightmares sometimes. Still slept with a nightlight. But he was healing. Playing soccer, making friends, learning to be a kid again. Lily was 10. Quieter than she used to be. More serious. But she smiled more now. Laughed, trusted again. She'd started calling Rosa Mom a few months ago. Just slipped out one day. Then she'd frozen, terrified she'd overstepped. But Rosa had pulled her close and whispered, "You can call me whatever feels right, sweetheart. I'm not trying to replace your mother. I'm just trying to love you the way she would have wanted." Lily had cried, and so had Rosa, and something had healed between them in that moment. Michael had recovered. The arsenic was gone from his system. He'd gained back the weight he'd lost. Color returned to his face. He'd sold the company, couldn't stomach the corporate world anymore. Now he worked with a foundation helping children of violent crime, turning his trauma into purpose. He'd asked Rosa to marry him twice. She'd said no both times, not because she didn't care about him, but because she needed to be her own person, not someone's wife, not someone's employee, just Rosa. He'd understood, respected it. They were family now, but on her terms. Rosa lived in the guest house, a cozy 2-bedroom cottage at the edge of the property. She'd decorated it herself, filled it with plants and books and photographs of the kids. She still cooked for the family most nights, still helped with homework and bedtime routines. But now she had her own space, her own life. She'd started taking college classes online, psychology, maybe social work, maybe something that would let her help other people the way she'd helped this family. One morning, Rosa was watering the sunflowers when she noticed something. A single white peony, growing at the edge of the garden. She hadn't planted it. Must have been a root left behind. For a moment, she considered digging it up, destroying it, erasing every trace of what had happened here. But then Lucas ran up beside her, breathing hard from playing. He saw the peony and tilted his head. "That's pretty. Can we keep it?" Rosa looked down at him. At this boy who'd survived the impossible, who'd been buried alive and clawed his way back to life, who still had the capacity to see beauty in things that should have been destroyed. "Sure, sweetheart. We can keep it. One flower won't hurt." Lucas grinned and ran back to play. Rosa stared at that white peony for a long moment. Thought about evil and resilience, about how trauma leaves marks but doesn't have to define you, about how sometimes the darkest moments reveal the strongest light. She'd been invisible in this house once, just the help, background noise, someone who cleaned and cooked and disappeared into the walls. Now she was standing in a garden full of sunflowers, watching children laugh and play, living a life she'd never imagined possible. All because she'd trusted her instincts that impossible night. All because she'd refused to ignore a sound that shouldn't have existed. As she walked back toward the house, Lily called out from the porch, "Rosa, can we make cookies later?" Rosa smiled. "Of course, baby. What kind?" "Chocolate chip," Lucas shouted. "No, snickerdoodle." They started arguing playfully. Michael appeared behind them, coffee in hand, grinning at their bickering. Rosa climbed the porch steps and wrapped her arms around both kids, pulling them close. "We'll make both. Problem solved." They cheered. And in that moment, surrounded by noise and love and normalcy, Rosa realized something profound. She'd saved Lucas's life that night, but this family, in all its broken, healing, complicated beauty, had saved hers too. The world of billionaires is supposed to be perfect, polished, untouchable. But Rosa had learned the truth. Behind the gates and the manicured lawns and the designer clothes, people are just people, capable of incredible good, capable of unthinkable evil. And sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who look the most perfect, the ones who smile the brightest, the ones who know exactly what to say and when to say it. Gabriella had been a monster wearing a mask, but she'd made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated a housekeeper, a woman the world saw as invisible. And that invisibility had become Rosa's greatest weapon. 3 years later, Rosa got a letter. Prison postmark. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single page, Gabriella's handwriting. Neat, perfect, like everything about her. The letter was brief, just 3 sentences. "I told you I'd see you again. They all forget eventually, but I never do." Rosa's blood ran cold. She immediately called Detective Chen, showed her the letter. Chen's jaw tightened. "I'll handle this. Gabriella's in solitary now. Maximum security. She shouldn't be able to send letters. Someone broke protocol." Rosa crumpled the letter. "Will she ever stop?" Chen's expression was grim. Predators like her never stop. They adapt, they wait, they plan, but she's locked up for life. She can send all the threats she wants. She can't hurt you anymore. But late at night, when Rosa couldn't sleep, she'd think about that letter, about Gabriella sitting in a cell somewhere, planning, scheming, waiting for an opportunity that would never come. And Rosa would get up, check the locks, look in on the kids, make sure everyone was safe, because she'd learned a terrible lesson. Evil doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a sign. It walks through the front door with a smile. It sits at your dinner table. It sleeps in your house. And sometimes, the only thing standing between evil and the people you love is vigilance, instinct, the willingness to dig when everyone says you're crazy, to believe what you hear even when it seems impossible, to fight even when you're terrified. Rosa Martinez had been just a housekeeper, invisible, powerless, poor, but she'd had something Gabriella hadn't counted on: courage, love, and an absolute unwillingness to let evil win. That had made all the difference. That had saved 2 children, exposed a serial killer, and given a broken family a chance to heal. And every time Rosa looked at Lucas and Lily, healthy and happy and alive, she knew she'd made the right choice. She'd trusted that voice in the darkness, and she dug, against all logic, against all odds. She dug, and found light in the deepest darkness imaginable. Okay, real talk. If this story didn't make your heart race, I don't know what will. Hit that like button right now if Rosa's courage gave you chills. And listen, we drop stories like this every day on Billionaire Bedtime Stories. True crime from the world of extreme wealth. The stories mainstream media won't touch. So smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because next week's episode, a tech billionaire, a yacht, and a wife who disappeared in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The surveillance footage will blow your mind. Drop a comment right now and tell me honestly, if you heard crying from underground at 3 a.m., would you dig or would you call 911 first? I read every single comment. Share this with someone who loves true crime. And remember, in the world of billionaires, the most dangerous people always look the most perfect. Stay safe out there. Sweet dreams.